Peace Day. Peace has broken out. It will last for 1,000 years.
Yeah, about that.
No? Am I being too optimistic?
Yeah, I mean...
It didn't last until the beginning of the podcast.
No.
We spent the morning preparing. Oh, good. Peace in it? No.
Okay.
It's complicated.
Right.
It's complicated.
Well, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, if I have to, but just a bit of framing here, because we've been getting some anger from our MAGA friends, and I want to say a couple of things. I personally grew up in American schools and was educated at the American University of Beirut, and I've always been pro-American given the alternatives around me. I mean, it's not hard when your other options are Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Turkey. Yeah, I'll take the Americans any day of the week. It's really not that difficult. And I think I'm quite anti-Iran in general because I'm kind of anti-Islam in general. I mean, I think it's wrong. I disagree with all false religions. That's sort of my standing point here.
And Iran spent a lot of money spreading Islam in the Middle East, right? Shia Islam.
Well, not just that. The Shia Muslims of Lebanon used to be the backbone of the Lebanese Communist Party. Oh, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
And then...
Just like in Britain.
And then Iranian influence turned them into the militant religious zealots, but that wasn't actually the norm.
Right.
So I have some, problem with that. And the reason I and others, I think, or speaking only for myself, have been quite critical of Trump in this war is because anybody who wants the European right to succeed and the American right to succeed wants Trump to succeed and not waste his political capital in another Middle Eastern adventure, essentially. Because I think everybody here knows that if the United States ends up with a Democratic president in 2028, the restrictions on free speech in Europe will double down and triple down. Everything will become considerably worse. This will be used to sort of discredit any rise of the right throughout the West, and it will be a disaster.
Well, they're going to conduct war trials.
Exactly.
War crime trials.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going
As well as all the sexual madness that they can't...
Yeah, as well
as all of the degeneracy and everything else that comes with the left rising, etc. So nothing I say comes out of a particular love for Iran. I mean, to be fair, as a Catholic, I have a bit of a soft spot for the Shia rather than the Sunnis, but not that much, really. So I just wanted to give that framing for people to understand where we're coming from, really.
I think it's also worth noting that for the rest of us, like, we're obviously Anglos, so we're naturally well disposed to our cousins across the pond.
Yes.
And we are massive supporters of Trump when he is a nativist, because what we view America First and MAGA as being is the movement for the Americans themselves against the deep state, against foreign interest, against boondoggle invasions of the Middle East done by some random country over there. We view MAGA as being against that kind of thing.
Yes.
And Trump seems to have been the person who campaigned on no foreign wars, no boondoggle.
Well, I vocally supported Donald Trump in all three of the elections.
Same here. I mean, we were massive cheerleaders for him because he represented what we wished we would get over here, which thankfully we seem to.
But what we were supporting was the agenda that he ran on, which was no Middle Eastern wars, and taking all that political capital and focusing it primarily on deportations. Now, there have been some deportations, but the political capital was obviously spent elsewhere because the deportations have been nothing like what Biden let in.
Correct. So for us, we're criticizing from a position of love and disappointment.
Yes.
We wished better for you guys from this. That's our position.
Yes. But before I continue, I should mention that we are having a live event on Saturday, the 11th at 7 at the Mecca in Swindon.
That's correct.
So please do come and join us. All three of us are going to be there, right?
Yep.
Yep. It's going to be good fun.
It is. We're going to be debating Star Wars, and there will be a protest.
Isn't that lovely?
I kind of want to do both. It's sad that I have to pick.
Yes.
Some people really hate the prequels. So anyway,
so let's go through a timeline of what's been going on. Trump at some point threatened Iran with the end of its civilization if they don't comply with what he asked them to do. And he had been demanding a total and complete surrender from Iran, etc., etc. But when he threatened to erase Iranian civilization, the Iranians said that they had closed all diplomatic contact. Turned out that this wasn't true. It turns out that actually what had happened was that there was some communications with the Pakistanis. And you could see from the Pakistani Prime Minister's Twitter account, X account, that he was sent a text saying, draft Pakistan PM's message on X, asking Trump and the Iranians to de-escalate.
So how can we see his draft messages?
You could look.
Because they were stupid enough to just post the entire fucking thing on Twitter and
He
then
literally
edit
copy-pasted it and then edited it.
But
and if you look at the tweet itself and say, show edit history, it'll show you what did it say before.
Oh.
But sorry.
Okay.
So this is really interesting because there's no way someone within the Pakistani administration writes Pakistani PM's message on X.
Yes.
That's an external message.
Yes.
And there's no way it came from the Iranians either.
So this is going to have been sent to them by the Americans.
Yes.
Please post this.
And so he posts this asking Trump for some de-escalation, and lo and behold, Trump obliges and says that there are going to be talks based on this, and the talks will be centered on Iran's 10-point proposal.
Right.
Now,
which is extraordinary if true, because those, for the 10 points were drafted by Iran, they're all the Iran wish list.
they are a
That's
complete wish list for Iran, that they won't be attacked again, permanent end of the war, end of Israeli strikes in Lebanon, lifting all sanctions.
That is massive.
So basically end the war completely on the current lines, which obviously favors Iran. And Iran would impose fees on transiting Hormuz, split with Oman. The Omanis are saying that they're not going to do that, but we will see.
Well, I guess Iran have lost if they can't get that point over the line. They have to keep all the fees themselves.
I suppose.
We tried.
Yeah.
And the fees will finance Iranian reconstruction.
But Iran to provide the rules for safe passage. So basically, Iran gets total sovereignty over Hormuz and gets to charge people for the privilege.
Which is kind of how Turkey operates with the Montreux Convention over the Straits of the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles.
Yeah.
The Turks technically could charge fees, but they don't.
Yeah.
But they have the right to say you're not allowed to pass. And if it's a time of war, they won't allow any military vessels to pass.
Yeah.
And they will apply that across the board. So that's what the Iranians asked for. And Trump said that this will be the basis of the negotiations. But there is some difference. Apparently, according to Trump, this is a statement from Iran, from the Iranian foreign minister, acknowledging the 15 points asked for by Trump.
Right, and what are Trump's 15 points?
Trump's 15 points are essentially no nuclear enrichment, end of the ballistic missile program or heavy restrictions on it, full opening of the Strait of Hormuz without any restrictions, pretty much the antithesis of what's here.
Right. So they're
diametrically opposite.
Yes.
And Trump's like, yeah, so we can begin negotiating with their points.
Yes.
Have Iran said, yes, we can begin negotiating with America's points?
No. They acknowledged that they were there.
Well, great, yeah.
So it says, considering the request for the U.S. by negotiations based on its 15 points, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal.
Right.
So the language here says, we heard you ask for your 15 points as a basis for ceasefire negotiations, but it's going to be based on our 10 points.
I love that Iran also tweets like Donald Trump. If attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. I'm literally expecting a thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, and importantly, safe passage through Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. So if you don't talk to the Iranians, you don't get to pass. And the Wall Street Journal is saying that the Iranians are threatening ships to blow them up if they try to go through the strait without Iran's approval.
Do we have any other source for this Iranian statement other than Donald Trump?
I think this is actually an official statement from the Iranians.
Okay.
Yeah. So there seems to have been some confusion here. Anyway, things aren't going very well. Because it seems...
Did someone break the ceasefire, did they?
Yeah, 2 countries.
Oh, really?
2 countries. It seems that the UAE attacked some oil facilities in Iran. This is not confirmed yet.
Right.
And the Iranians responded by attacking oil facilities in the UAE and Kuwait, because Kuwait is where most American ground forces are located, and the Iranians have been making a point of absolutely hammering, in particular, Kuwait and the UAE.
Why would the UAE do that, though?
Because if there is a ceasefire along the 10 points, that means that they have to pay the Iranians for every barrel of oil that they export.
Right.
That means that they've all been forced to accept that Iran is the new regional hegemon. The UAE is deeply allied to the Israelis on every level. And their view is that if that happens, they might cease to exist as an independent state because either the Saudis or the Iranians will take them.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Which is the big fear of all of the small states in the Gulf.
I was going to make a glib comment about them being basically fictional countries.
They know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of are.
Well, they are. But like you'd think Donald Trump, your protector, says right, no more, and then you start attacking. Isn't that going to annoy that?
They're trying to keep Trump in the region because the 10 points include an American withdrawal from the region.
Yeah.
Now, Trump is saying that they're going to be hanging around the Middle East generally, but Iran wants it to happen. He's saying that the United States will be helping with the traffic buildup in the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians don't see it that way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Big money will be made. Apparently, Trump told a journalist that they might split the toll fees with the Iranians, that the United States might split the toll fees with the Iranians.
You can't stop Trump the businessman, though, can you?
Yeah.
I mean, if Iran can charge a single dollar per ship,
Yes.
that is just
per
an
barrel,
Iran
that's
win.
an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
Yes. Or even $1 per ship, that is the principle conceded.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But if it's 2 million per ship, which works out about $1 per barrel, I mean, you can't spin that any other way than an Iranian win.
Yes.
We'll be loading up with supplies of all kinds and just hanging around in order to make sure everything goes well. I mean, that really does, like, I hate to say it, but that's the language of someone who has been kicked in the teeth and is just going to step back and let things take their place.
And he's also saying that he's ready to resume the war if things don't go well.
Okay, so what actually counts as a ceasefire? Because there's so many parties involved in this region.
Yes.
Is it a ceasefire if the US isn't shooting at Iran and Iran isn't shooting at US bases, but Iran is shooting at everybody else and everybody else is shooting at Iran? Is that still a ceasefire?
That's a win for Iran because they would have taken out the biggest
It's a
military.
massive win for Iran.
And now they'll have time to just smack around everybody else. Even if it's Iran and Israel and the UAE going at it, they don't.
Well, that is a nightmare
That's not
scenario
even
for
like
Israel.
10 million population against Iran's 90 million.
Exactly.
Like, Iran is going to win that easily, right? 'Cause, I mean, the whole thing with Israel is always like, oh, we're going to bring in America, right? And if America says, right, we're staying out of it, well, they're in their own trouble, aren't they? They can't exactly fight a war of attrition.
And so the Pakistanis and the Iranians are saying that the ceasefire includes Lebanon, where the Israelis are waging a war against Hezbollah. And we haven't posted this yet, but as we were speaking, the Israelis launched the biggest wave of airstrikes against Lebanon to make sure that there is no ceasefire.
Right. So the Israelis are not honoring the ceasefire either.
Exactly. Right. So the Israelis and the Emiratis are both trying to make sure that the ceasefire doesn't happen.
Because it seems to be entirely favorable to Iran.
Because it is incredibly favorable to Iran.
Do we know if Iran has since this apparent ceasefire has begun, do we know if Iran has fired missiles at Israel?
In the first hour after the ceasefire, yes, but not yet, but not since.
Okay.
And so that could be delayed communications, whatever. My view is that because they're attacking Hezbollah this heavily, the Iranians are going to fire a big salvo at the Israelis at some point today or in the next couple of days. And they will use that to say, well, either it's a full ceasefire or it isn't.
Well,
And if it isn't, then the Iranians will bring in the Houthi and shut down the Red Sea as well. And so the amount of pressure, economically speaking, will go through the roof.
it's really weird how Star Wars is surprisingly apt as an analogy for all of this.
Go on.
Well, just this is literally the Sand People getting involved on behalf of the rebels
Sand People.
against the Empire. But anyway, how is it that Iran still have so many missiles exactly?
Because they built these massive underground missile cities
Right.
that are designed to take a bunch of blows from B-2s and B-52s
Right.
and keep on functioning, that have gaps and so on to make sure that a blow on one location doesn't collapse the whole thing.
Right.
And then the Americans try to shut the tunnels in
Yeah.
and mine the area, but like aerial mining, you just drop a bomb that drops landmines. But then the Iranians keep reopening the tunnel entrances and firing again.
Right.
And what are they going to be doing over the next 2 weeks? They're going to be reopening all of the tunnel entrances so that if the war does resume, they can start with the same kind of massive salvo that they kicked the war off with.
Right. Okay. So the Iranians aren't going to run out of missiles anytime soon.
I don't think that that's going to happen.
Well, and also, doesn't Iran have an open supply line to Turkmenistan?
Well,
So,
there's
so Chinese and
Turkmenistan.
Russian drones can still get in.
So there are stories that they're making drones in Turkmenistan, that the Iranians are making drones in Turkmenistan, which is a kind of Russian-Chinese protectorate.
Yeah.
And then the Belt and Road Initiative has a major terminus in Kazakhstan on the Caspian Sea. And then there is a connection between Iran and Russia, Volgograd, through the Caspian as well. So the Iranians have an open supply line to China and Russia.
The Americans literally can't intercede in.
Not really. Not really. Not unless they really want to provoke
They'd
the
have to.
Russians
Yeah, they'd have
and
to.
risk a bigger Russian
Yeah.
response. And
Well,
the
and it'd be-
land route can't be, like, it's a land route, you're not going to be
Yeah.
able
It
to
would be a
stop.
hell of an air mission going in that deep
Yeah.
into Russian and Chinese area.
They've done it once. They've attacked the Iranian ports on the Caspian once, but apparently they subsequently received a Russian warning saying, don't you dare do that again.
Right.
So it doesn't look very good, shall we say. And Hezbollah adhered to the ceasefire. They've stopped firing. But the Israelis are pummeling Lebanon more than they did since the war began.
But aren't there Israeli troops actually inside Lebanon?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen tanks.
Yes.
So I mean, it's one thing having a ceasefire when you don't fire into another country,
Yes.
but I mean that's quite restrained if you're not firing at foreign troops that are actually inside your country.
And they're not doing that because they want to stick to the ceasefire and force the Israelis out.
Well, yeah, but Israel do not want this peace to take hold.
Not in the least. Because for them, it is the beginning of the full American exit from the Middle East.
Yes.
And that's what they're afraid of, because then everybody around them is going to gang up against them. And after seeing this war, if you're Egypt, if you're Turkey, even if you're Saudi Arabia, and
Yeah.
obviously if you're Iran, you need to get nuclear weapons.
Well, I suppose that kind of answers my point then, because even though the Israeli troops are still inside Lebanon, Hezbollah can make a big statement, oh yeah, we are observing the ceasefire, and actually observe it, safe in the knowledge that there's 100% chance the Israelis won't.
Yes.
And actually, it's just an intermission for the space of a few hours on Wednesday morning, and then they can get straight back to it.
Pretty much.
What's interesting as well, I remember a couple of days ago, the Israeli saber rattling about Turkey, in fact.
Yes.
The usual sort of think pieces were published in various Israeli publications about, Turkey's the next problem,
Yeah.
thinking that they had Iran in the bag.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now clearly they don't.
Yeah.
Well, Turkey is definitely a winner out of this.
Yeah. But I think you're absolutely right. The impetus to get nuclear weapons has just shot.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
If I was Erdogan, that'd be top of my list.
What else are you doing?
And what was he doing 2 days ago? He was showing off next to a ballistic missile with a 1,500 kilometer range.
Well, Erdogan was
Erdogan.
right.
I think it's called Tufan or something like that, and he's bragging about it, and now it's in serial production, just like the Iranian ballistic missiles.
I mean, as regional powers go, I mean, isn't Turkey even bigger, stronger than military than Egypt?
They have believe 1 million men in total.
Yeah.
And they are the second largest army in NATO after only the United States.
Oh, okay, right. So yeah, they are.
They have a decent navy, unlike the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And they have a good military manufacturing sector. So they have
you can see why Israel wants to take them out.
Yes.
But I mean, we've all seen the articles in the Jerusalem Post, Turkey's next, and all the politicians saying Turkey's next. But that is just a complete non-starter now.
Now it's a complete non-starter.
It's also a very mountainous country as well, isn't it? So
it's a very mountainous country. So Anatolia and Persia are built like fortresses.
Yeah. So like it's historically.
And that's why the wars between them happen in Syria and Iraq.
Yes.
Because you can
it's a lowland.
go there.
You can walk across it.
Yes.
Yeah. So can we talk about the infamous tweet quickly? Because of course I logged on to Twitter yesterday. And I saw this and I said, I'm not monitoring this situation. I just closed Twitter and logged off. Because I saw people freaking out on the left and right, to be honest.
So, and by the infamous tweet, you mean the
whole civilization.
Whole civilization burn. Samson, can you get that one up? That'd be a good one to see.
As soon as I saw it, I was just, okay.
Yeah.
This is Donald Trump. This is the sort of thing Trump says when he's not getting his way.
Yes.
Trump ramps up the rhetoric to ridiculous degrees when he's not getting what he wants out of negotiations,
yes,
whatever his stated goals are. And for some reason, a lot of people are still taking this literally but not seriously. Right? Yep. So obviously, I didn't think that literally Donald Trump. I mean, a lot of people saying, "Oh, see, Donald Trump didn't nuke Iran." It's like, yeah, but nobody thought he was actually going to nuke Iran, right?
Yep.
Yeah, here's the tweet. A whole civilization will die tonight, probably never to be brought back again. I don't want it to happen, but probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen, who knows? We will find out tonight one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Now, this is such typical Trumpian rhetoric about trying to manifest rhetorically a new reality.
Yes.
To show people, no, look, like there's the stick, but there's also the carrot. And, here's an off-ramp, so the stick doesn't come. But it's like, okay, the problem is everyone's calling you taco because they always know you're going to back out at the last minute, because this is a persuasion tactic and not actually a serious commitment of what you want to do.
Well, I will give them credit for this. I mean, some people are saying, does this mean nukes? Because if you read the first sentence, whole civilization will die tonight, that strongly implies nukes.
Yes.
But then as you go on and read the rest of it, I mean, what this really is, it is a kind of a masterful bit of ambiguity. This tweet taken in its entirety could mean anything. It could mean nukes.
Yes.
It could mean negotiation. It could mean an off-ramp. I mean, who the hell knows what it means?
Yeah, he could come out and say, what I was talking about was the civilization of the mullahs and the Ayatollahs regime will die tonight, never to be brought back, but a free Iran will spring out from it. He could literally manipulate it into anything, which is why I was just like, I saw it and everyone was freaking out. I was like, no, not today. I'm sorry. I've got things I need to do around the house. The kids are whining,
Yes.
I was on the freaking out camp, because the reason this happened. No, but the reason this happened was because we had reached a point in the escalation where the energy infrastructure of the entire Gulf, including Iran, was going to get erased. Mm. And so we got very close to the point of no return, whereby now, okay, in 6 months, something like that, you might return to some normalcy, with some stuff taking another couple of years. Had this continued down this path, it would have been the destruction of the main facilities that allow any oil to be extracted, meaning that this energy gets shut in for 5-10 years.
Which would have been, and you're talking there about the reciprocation effect as well.
Exactly.
They would have destroyed their energy infrastructure. Exactly. They would have destroyed the rest of the energy infrastructure and also the desalination plant. So not only do you get a permanent reduction in global energy capacity, you also get an enormous refugee crisis in the Middle East.
Yes. And so he got it to that point of escalation. But because the Iranians were able to keep retaliating in kind, he climbed down.
But the thing is, what I read in this is the climb down.
Yes.
Right. Everyone got really fixated on the first sentence.
Right.
But I was paying attention to the who knows in block capital.
The reason why my response is primarily about the first sentence is because, yes, it's more likely that it's going to be the second part.
Yeah.
But I am asymmetrically concerned with the first part.
Yes.
Even though it's low, let's say that the nuke thing is a 2% possibility and the rest of it is a 98% possibility. Well, I'm still going to put my energy into saying, yeah, but don't do that thing.
Yeah,
even
but
if it's a low
Sorry,
chance.
one more point. The more you play that kind of game, the more you encourage the other side to be stubborn and not take you seriously.
Yes.
And the more you encourage everybody in the world to just get as many nuclear weapons as they can. So there are second-order effects to playing this
I
game.
completely agree. Because, I mean, what this...
Which are just...
Yeah, no, I completely
insane.
agree. Because what this essentially is the kind of like madman theory that Trump's been playing, right?
But there are limits to it.
Sure, I totally agree. But and Trump has discovered the limits in Iran's 10 demands.
Yes.
As in, no, we know you're bluffing.
Yes.
Right? We are maniacs ourselves.
Yes.
Like we are legitimately, we think every single one of us goes straight to heaven the second you bomb us, right? So we're going to we actually can hold the line here.
Yep.
We've got our stocks. We're able to strike your infrastructure. We're able to cause you massive cascading problems.
Yes.
And all you can do is bluster on Truth Social. Right, that's basically what I read from this.
And the war ended because the Iranians demonstrated that they have escalation dominance.
Yes.
Because they can cause far more damage to the world economy than and are willing to take the damage that is meted out to them.
Because they are actually lunatics.
Yes. They gave Trump everything on the nuclear issue before the war started. Then the war happened anyway.
It was hard to see why.
So they switched from reasonable mode to lunatic mode.
Yes. I mean, genuinely, it was hard to see what the point of this war was in the first place. I mean, we'll get to it in the second segment because now we actually know.
Yes.
Spoiler, it's Israel. And for some reason, Trump's marriage to promoting their interest. But from an American point of view, this was completely unnecessary and hasn't done Trump any favors and has just entrenched the opposition.
Well, this comes back to your first point about the schism with the American right, and actually, I mean, I don't think it's quite as clear as that. Lots of the American right have been against the war all the way through.
Yeah, there are lots of good people,
but the reason we're against it because it's not because we're backing Iran. It's because we think it's bad for America.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, right? If and not just this is bad for America, it's really poorly organized as well.
Yes,
right?
There was no plan.
There was no plan.
They believed Netanyahu's BS.
Well, there was an Israeli plan, which was
drag America
into a 30-year conflict.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But the thing is, like, if America had built a coalition, if it had actually prepared like 100,000 men as a ground force or something like this, and actually just been like, no, if we're going to do this, we have to do it properly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Iran is an impossible conquest or anything. It's just you thought the Iranians would crack under the pressure.
Well, there'd be internal regime change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Either the regime would just be like, okay, yeah, no, we don't want to get bombed to death. Actually, they don't care about that. Or that there would be a massive uprising from below. No, it seems that actually when the missiles are raining down, that isn't when people feel like overthrowing their government.
They rallied to the government.
Yeah, exactly. Of course they did, because the country's under attack.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate Keir Starmer as much as the next man.
But if the French attack...
If German bombs start raining down on London... I'm not siding with the Germans.
If day one, a girls' school goes up in smoke.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm for my country, even if I hate my government, and so you've got to, this whole thing was really poorly thought out.
Yes.
But it was obviously not Trump's actual idea to do this.
Look, he went for it.
Yeah.
He went for it, and he went for it for one reason.
Yeah, the brain blob that sat on the side of his bloody head.
Yeah, pretty much. And from that, he's now, for all the Gulf states, they're in an impossible position.
Yeah.
Because the order that exists and the borders that exist in the Gulf only exist because the British Empire handed the baton to the America.
Western hegemony. Right?
Exactly.
And this is the thing about like paddling in the Rubicon. So no, if you're going to do something, okay, fair enough, but do it seriously.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like don't take half measures. I mean, the guy in South Korea who's now in jail for half staging a coup.
Exactly.
Like it's all the same thing.
Don't skinny dip in the Rubicon.
Yeah. If you want to overthrow the Iranian regime, I don't care. I don't care about the Iranian regime. Just if you mess it up, what you do is break the myth of American supremacy.
Yes.
Right. That's what the Americans have to understand here, right? And so now I suppose is a good time to discuss this because so throughout history you get people of remarkable military power. Right, all throughout history, and they win, and they win, and they win. And what this does, in the minds of their opponents, they look at the overawing might of this conquering army with this amazing general, and they think, right, we can't beat that, so we don't fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what that does is lead to more victories. And so the myth of invincibility builds around this general and his army until one day they do lose.
Well, it's important that your enemy believe it, but that you don't.
Exactly, right? That precisely. You don't believe the myth of your own invincibility because then you get complacent. And all it takes is one small reverse, not a catastrophic defeat, not the main army gets crushed by an enemy army. No. What it is like, 5,000 man detachment gets routed and has to run back. And then suddenly everyone's like, oh, right, no, they can be beaten.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. Now we realize that resistance is possible, and as soon as the myth of invincibility shatters, then the whole thing starts collapsing.
I was worried that Biden's disastrous retreat from Afghanistan was going to be that, but I think they kind of got a pass on it because Biden was so befuddled that you could say, okay, well, it's not really America's defeat.
Well, it wasn't
Biden's
a military defeat at all. Like the Taliban weren't like taking cities or something.
Yes.
The Taliban were like, the Americans are leaving. Oh, right. Should we go in? Oh,
Exactly.
I think now's the time, guys.
And the Afghan army dissolved.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't
It just sort of disappeared,
It wasn't American weakness that
It wasn't
caused.
pitched battles. Whereas here, what's different is that the Iranians were able to extract an enormous price.
But they were able to
Not from the
physically
Americans
resist.
themselves, exactly. Not from the Americans themselves by inflicting mass casualties on the Americans, but from what matters to the United States, which is the world economy.
Yes. And the Americans there reveal the limits of their own power, right?
Yes.
The Achilles heel, the vulnerability they have. As the global hegemon, they have to be concerned about the nature of the global economic system because it's the American global economic system.
Exactly.
Right. After this, it's entirely possible the Iranians will be trading oil in yuan or whatever it is.
Yes.
Right. So that's not good. That's really not good for
And
you.
I'll just say for any haters in the comment, of course we recognise that the US is the strongest, most powerful military in the world.
Yeah, but
no question about
but
it.
it's not invulnerable and it's not unlimited.
No.
Right? And that's the thing that the Americans, I think, have in their heads.
Well, and also the military itself is propped up by, as you said, the economy.
Yes.
And if the economy is being hurt and the dollar system is being hurt, well, that's just delayed effect impact on the military.
And as Firas said, if someone has escalation dominance, as in, no, we can ruin everything for you, even if you eventually break us, then that's where, as you can see, Donald Trump was pulled back and gone, okay, we'll come to the negotiating table. There you have exposed a weakness.
Yes.
Right? And like
Because the point of the use of force is to achieve a political outcome.
yes.
If you can't achieve
Clausewitz
that,
101.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can't achieve that political outcome, then you can drop as many bombs as you like, but it doesn't change the fact that you're trying to achieve something in particular.
Yeah. And especially as the Iranians are the worst target to approach with that attitude because they have a sort of messianic martyrdom complex.
Exactly.
Where the Shia religion itself is built on a martyrdom complex.
It's
like it couldn't have played into their hands better, frankly.
And the fact that Khamenei, the father, stayed in his office
Not
on
an
the
accident.
third floor was not accidental.
Because what was he, 86, cancer-ridden?
He was his would have turned to 87 on the 19th of April, I think.
Couldn't have a better time, as you pointed out earlier. Couldn't be a better time to be a martyr.
Oh, if I decided I wanted to become a martyr,
I'd like to be
I would be like,
86 years old dying with
86
cancer,
and with
please.
cancer. That's a good moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But just this, as you know, one of the sort of military history nerds, I'm just looking at this with genuine concern because the thing is, it's not that this means America is beaten, right?
No.
or anything like that. But what this means is America faces much more stiff resistance when it wants to do something else somewhere else. And that means
some Marxist group in Latin America.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Some bunch of gangsters in Mexico.
Yeah.
Some other insurgency is going to realize if we impose a heavy enough political price, we can get what we want politically without winning a single battle.
Yes. And
This is
also
how the Vietnamese won. They didn't win a single military engagement against the United States. They won the war.
Yeah.
So it's this inability to see the other guy's perspective
but also
that is at heart here.
what this also does is makes the next thing the American military have to do so much harder.
Yes.
Because yes, you will meet much more confident and organized resistance. You will beat it, but you'll have to put a lot more into it. And so where you could have achieved it with, a sort of like 20% energy expenditure, now you've got to put a 40% energy expenditure in. And your energy is not unlimited. So now that's energy you've had to direct from somewhere else. I mean, didn't they have to take troops from like the China Sea and like South
They had
Korea
to take
and stuff like that?
air defense systems from South Korea,
Right.
which was a huge political problem for the South Koreans.
Of course it was, because the North Koreans are just like, oh, what's happening here?
Now, the South Koreans can build their own air defenses, and they're good. But taking away the American ones,
But the point is that you now have to start. This will happen in other places, right? The next time some trouble comes up, you're going to have to redivert more energy than you thought you would have had to have done. And this is why the myth of invincibility is very useful. And frivolously squandering it like this on behalf of Israel is not good.
Exactly.
Right? For the Americans in the audience, I'm speaking for your advice, for your good here, this was a strategic mistake in the long run for your republic.
because for the Israelis, it wasn't just the nuclear program that they're afraid of. They know that Iran can be deterred. The issue was the ballistic missile program and the drone program, which was spreading throughout the region, firing from so many locations that it would overwhelm air defenses, and getting to a point where Israel can be conventionally beaten. Or beaten back, rather.
That's a great point, because I mean, one thing
and contained.
One thing that's
what the Israelis don't want is to be contained because they are deeply committed to the Greater Israel Project. And they're in the process of trying to expel the Palestinians of the West Bank, trying to expand their borders in Lebanon. They've already expanded them in Syria, etc., etc. And they've actually published pieces saying that Egypt should be next.
Oh, have they? I haven't even.
Yes.
Right. Well, and Turkey.
And Turkey.
And Turkey, yeah.
Well, I mean, why not?
So they were getting to a stage of such unhinged hubris.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, didn't the Iron Dome basically fail? Like, I heard so much about the Iron Dome.
There's 5 or 6 layers to the Israeli missile defense system.
Yeah.
They ran out of the best interceptors.
Right.
The lowest quality interceptors they still have. And they ran out of some of the mid-level interceptors, or not fully ran out. They had to become selective in what they intercepted.
Yeah.
Because they were getting close to running out.
Yeah.
But also, isn't Iron Dome downstream of a whole bunch of US radar installations that were destroyed very early on?
Patriot, Arrow, David Sling, and then Iron Dome. Iron Dome is actually the lowest one.
I see.
But the point is, it wasn't the complete protection that I think had been built up.
Yeah, it's not invulnerability.
Yeah, of the people in anticipation for this war. And I think obviously people didn't expect the continual barrage Iran was going to be able to actually put out. I mean, I was surprised, frankly.
Exactly.
You know, like, I honestly thought that, okay, a couple of weeks maybe, but like they're still doing it. So, you know, Iran wasn't a paper tiger.
No.
The regime deeply entrenched, and America has wasted a huge amount of reputational damage on what seems to just be a boondoggle here, which was done with very, very poor planning. Because I mean, if there's one thing that you want in war, it's a really good plan. It won't survive contact with the enemy, but you'll have contingencies, have genuine sort of like another thing is, what were Trump's war aims here?
Yes.
What were his war aims? Bomb the Iranian leadership and get them to capitulate. Yeah, but they weren't going to do that.
No.
They've been fighting this war.
Well, we're starting to get some details on this on the New York Times article that we come to.
Yeah, but the Iranians have been fighting this war in their heads for the last 50 years.
Yes.
They know exactly what they're doing. And so anyway, I'm like, this was not wise.
And now the United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. it hasn't.
Yeah.
Well, no, it did. It went from Ayatollah Khomeini to Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yes.
To his son.
There will be no enrichment of uranium. The Iranian Supreme National Security Council is saying that they're going to continue enriching uranium.
Yeah.
There's going to be limits on the ballistic missile. No, not going to happen. We are and we will be taking tariffs and sanctions, tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. Actually, he can't, because Congress will make sure that there is no sanctions relief for Iran.
But even if they were somehow like, yeah, do whatever you want, Mr. Trump, how is sanctions relief on Iran not just a pure Iranian win? How many decades has Iran been sanctioned by America?
40 years now.
There we go. Right. So, like, that's 40 years of American, like, rock solid American foreign policy to contain a hostile regime undone.
Yes.
And so, like, this is definitely an L, unfortunately.
It is a strategic loss for the Americans, because now Iran is the new regional hegemon. If this ceasefire is implemented anything close to the 10 points,
Yeah.
Iran is the new regional hegemon.
Even if they only get like one or two of those points through, that's, I mean, Iran, I've seen Iran's Twitter feeds, you know, the Iranian media and all the state organs posting AI videos of Trump with a white flag and stuff like this. And to be honest with you, from their perspective, you can see why they're beating their chest.
Yes.
Yeah, they're literally going to go around to everyone in the region and say, we beat America.
Yes.
Don't test us. We're in charge now. And the thing is,
And now you have to pay reparations because you allowed your territory to be used against us, which is technically, under the United Nations, aggression.
what's the UAE going to say about that? Like, good point.
Which is why they're trying to extend the war.
Yeah, they're trying.
They're trying to the UAE and Israel are trying to extend the war because they realize that this is an L.
They need to force an American victory, and if that's not coming, they're all in trouble.
Well, they're going to get swallowed by Saudi, aren't they? So.
Yep.
Someone's getting swallowed by someone. And
Yes.
the thing is, just
The borders are not going to stay the same.
No.
The borders are not going to last 5 or 10 years. The borders of the region are going to be redrawn. How is the question?
yeah. I mean, just to be clear, this is actually historically incredibly normal.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
historically, for literally like the last 2,000 years, Iran, being the Persian Empire under various dynasties, just controlled essentially from Syria all the way over to Pakistan and Afghanistan. Right, that was just their
And big chunks of the Gulf at different times.
yeah. Like if, you know the
It's called the Persian Gulf for a reason.
yeah. The boundaries in that are fuzzy. Sometimes it's higher or lower, but that's roughly the region from like the edge of Syria over to there. That was normal for the Persians to have that as their state.
Yes.
So this current situation is artificial, basically.
Exactly. And it's ending. If the ceasefire is implemented, it's ending.
Yeah.